So, you start getting into whiskey. You watch some YouTube reviews, most of them from countries that aren't Australia. You go down to the local bottle-o, try to pick up a few bottles that you've seen recommended, only to find out they're 150 bucks, 180 bucks, best case scenario 120 or something like that. It's a situation I'm all too familiar with, being pretty fresh in my whiskey journey myself, but I'm happy to report I found some pretty good ones that I've been able to score for under 100 bucks. I'm going to run through 5 whiskies in this video that I guess are what I think are some of the best bang for buck whiskies in Australia at the moment. Now, if you're brand new to whiskey, you might want to start with my first video, which is more a gateway and beginner's guide to whiskies. This is, I guess, the next stage to that video. And I'd also just like to take this chance to say a quick thank you to everyone who watched and dropped a comment on the first video. I didn't expect such a good result for that, and yeah, I'm excited for you to all join me on my journey. Let's go. So, to start with on this list, I'm going to go with an Australian whiskey. It's only fitting, right? This one is a classic red wine barrel with a real Australian uniqueness. I would say this is Australia's answer to a Scottish sherry bomb, but it's different as well. I was really surprised when I first tried this, just how unique it was. Look, a lot of you have probably heard of it. It's been definitely getting a lot of praise from overseas whiskey lovers, and rightfully so. It comes in at a really good price, I believe around 80 bucks, 90 bucks most of the time. It is the Morris single malt. And this one here is just their signature blend. I'm actually yet to try some of the higher end bottles, like the Muscat and the Tokay barrel. They've got a few different varieties, which I'm super keen to try. I'm actually super keen to try to get down to the distillery sometime for the channel as well. But yeah, look, I was really impressed by this one. I gotta say, the very first time I tried it, I found the taste pretty intense. If you don't like sherry bomb style whiskies or red wine cask kind of influence, yeah, you're probably definitely gonna find this one pretty intense, but personally, I love it, and it has become a permanent shelf kind of bottle for me. I'm on to my second bottle of this, and yeah, it's really unique. So I'm getting a lot of dark fruits with this, black cherries, dark berries. So it's ex-red wine barrel, but then it finishes in some of their really unique fortified wine casks. So, and that's something that this company is known for, which I think is really unique. You know, it's a company that's really well known for their fortified wines. They've decided to go into whiskies, and they've nailed it, and making something that's really unique to Australia and also very well priced. You would not find a tastier bottle of Australian whiskey for this price that competes really well internationally. So you're not just having it because it's Australian and you want to support an Australian company. It packs a punch, and it's really unique. So I talked a bit in my last video about Starward, and this is another step beyond that. Yeah, dark fruits, red wine, sherry. I can just imagine sitting around a fire drinking this, snow outside. Not that that's super common in Oz, but you get the picture. Really nice end of night drink. Just a really nice sipper. It's only 40%, but it's very full flavored, and yeah, couldn't recommend this more. I've also heard of people that aren't necessarily big whiskey enthusiasts finding this a really good entry-level whiskey. If you're a wine lover, you would probably like this. Now, you know, even though I will say, I love my wines, but I'm not out there drinking sherry and port and things like that so much. But even so, when it's blended with whiskey, I love it, and it really works well for this one. Yeah. Big fan, can't wait to try some of their other offerings, and yeah, hopefully you get a chance to get down to Rutherglen and check them out in person sometime. Next up on my list, I'm gonna go for one that I don't actually have in stock on the shelf at the moment, but has been a personal previous favorite, and that is the Craigellachie 13. It's a Speyside whiskey, it's 46%, 13-year age statement. I got onto this by being recommended it on a lot of other whiskey channels, and it's funny because a lot of people say that this is a pretty intense whiskey and not a beginner-friendly whiskey and things like that. I don't agree. I just think it's a classic whiskey without any particular strong flavors. I think it's just a really well-rounded classic Scotch. Now, you're getting some interesting flavors in there, like bit of lingering kind of oak, peppery, but still getting some vanilla and some, yeah, nice fruits in there. Kind of like, it's a sweet and spicy palate. Now this is worm tub condensed. Now look, I'm not going to pretend like I know the ins and outs of that, but it's meant to give it a bit more weight and texture. Generally, people say when you're ready to try a whiskey that is a bit more interesting and pretty good value, go for this. And I couldn't agree more. So I know it's back up at its normal price in Oz at the moment of about 110, but keep your eye out. It does go on special. You get it in the 90s, and a common theme of what I've been trying to look for on my whiskey journey is just those 46% well-known Scotch whiskies that get some good reviews, and just trying to get them in that $80, $90 mark, which is definitely possible. And a little tip on that note, keep an eye out for discounts at places like Dan Murphies. Often they'll have 20% off if you spend 150 or things like that. It's a bit higher at the moment. The specials aren't that good at the moment, but I know they do get good. And what I've done in the past, for example, is bought 2 bottles that are probably around the $100 mark that I wanted to try. Then you get a bit of money off them. They probably end up in the 80s and sometimes even the 70s if you're lucky and it's a good special. So just keep your eye on the sale prices, and if you can get something that is a combination of being on sale and then you get a little bit more off it, then it's going to be a really good buy and a good way to try whiskies like this. On the final few sips of my Morris. Now it's funny, when I first got this, I actually thought, oh, maybe I'm not going to like this. But it grew on me very quickly. I think I just hadn't had something that had so much of a kind of those Christmas cake, dark fruit kind of notes. Very upfront with this one here. It's by no means a subtle whiskey. That really grew on me. And now, yeah, I really love it for what it is. The Oz answer to a sherry bomb, and yeah, Morris, they're doing great work. Definitely should have a bottle of this on your shelf, I reckon. So next up, we've got a whiskey that shares some flavor characteristics with the Morris, being on that kind of red wine, sherry, dark fruit side of things. However, it's a Scotch, and it's a Scotch that I think is very well priced in Australia, and it's actually been one of my personal favorites so far. I don't hear it talked up so much on a lot of different YouTube channels, maybe just because overseas where whiskies are cheaper and you got a bit more variety for the price point, this is maybe just seen as a bit more of a budget option, but maybe not. I think it's really good, and that is going to be the Benriach 10. Now, previously, I've also had the Benriach 12, also a great one. For a while, this was really well priced in Oz. I think the 12 was actually cheaper than the 10 for a little bit, so it was really great value. But look, this one, probably the best value whiskey I'm going to mention today, because I actually picked this bottle up for 59 bucks. So it was on special at Liquorland for 69, and then I got $10 off because they've been doing that a bit lately as they change over from First Choice Liquor to just Liquorland Warehouse. If you go to the First Choice site, it then directs you to the Liquorland site and gives you 10 bucks off, which is handy. So the 10-year is 43%. The 12 is a 46er. I loved the 12, and so I thought I'd give the 10 a go, and I've been pleasantly surprised. The 12 is definitely in that sherry bomb kind of category. I would say the 10 is almost a bit more balanced. It's a bit more, not saying it's better necessarily, I love them both, but the 10, you're probably getting a bit more of a kind of mixed bag of fruit in the upfront flavors. It still does lead to a bit of a place of sherry, but I also feel like you're getting some orchard fruits along with the darker ones, like kind of raisins and things like that. Yeah, really nice on the nose. So yeah, like I said, some orchard fruits, some raisins, bit of honey or malt in there. And the sherry and kind of the stronger dark flavors are really at the back. Yeah, that's just a really pleasant whiskey. I've really enjoyed it, and you know, it ticks a lot of the boxes. So it's a triple cask. So it's bourbon, sherry, and virgin oak. They're saying orchard fruit, honey, and toasted oak on the nose, and then pear, nectarine, malt sweetness, almond, and spiced vanilla on the palate. I'd agree with that. Yeah, look, this is a great one to have on the shelf. I think you can't go wrong with that. The Morris that I talked about before, some people might find that too intense. I don't think you'll find that with this. Yeah, yum. Big fan. Benriach 10, can't go wrong. The 12's great too. Keep an eye on the prices, and yeah, I can strongly recommend either of those bottles, and they've been a bit of a hit so far in my whiskey journey. So while I finish this, I'm going to give you my next one, and I'm gonna, so that I'm ticking a few different bases and a bit of variety in my selections, don't worry, the next one's not going to be a sherry bomb or wine cask, sherry cask related. I'm going for a peaty one, a classic Islay peated whiskey, and that is the Talisker 10. Now, basically, as a lot of you would know, you've got three heavy hitters in the peated kind of whiskey category, and those are Ardbeg, Talisker, and Laphroaig. Now, I like all of them, but to be honest, I think this one has probably become a bit of a personal favorite for me. I just find it nice and balanced. Laphroaig kind of has a bit more of the medicinal peat, which is not bad, but what I love about this is you're getting a bit of that salt air and some other balanced flavors in there as well. So salt air, dried fruit, a peppery finish, coastal peat rather than heavy smoke. Yeah, I mean, you know, they advertise their maritime flavor because of where they're based, but I really do taste it. And to me, this is a complex, well-balanced, peated whiskey. And yeah, even after trying probably what are some more higher rated peated whiskies, like the Kilhome and Seneg there, and a few others when I've been at whiskey bars and things like that, I gotta say, this one, I think is a real classic. And, you know, Talisker 10, it's well known. It's very readily available, and yeah, I'm not dropping any new information here by recommending that, but I've really enjoyed it. It's lived up to the hype, and I would definitely recommend that. Even for someone who doesn't necessarily love peated whiskey. I just think that's a great all-rounder, and although it does have a heavy hit of peat there, just off the back of that, you're going into all these other flavors, and just the times I've sipped it lately, I've just been super impressed by how much there is to it. And yeah, it's been a really enjoyable whiskey experience for me. It's north of $100 in Australia generally until it goes on sale, but it does dip below that $100 mark if you keep an eye on things. So yeah, definitely add this one to your buy list if you haven't tried it yet. And yeah, if you have, tell me some of your other favorite Talisker offerings that I should look into trying next. Now, my final whiskey for this video I'm gonna recommend and have a bit of a chat about is gonna be by Deanston. Now, I've tried the Deanston 12 at a whiskey bar before and been pretty impressed. You know, Deanston 12, it's one that shows up quite a bit in YouTube lists and reviews. So I was pretty keen to try it, and it's pretty good and not bad value in Oz at the moment. Like, I know the Deanston 12 is $99 at Dan Murphies at the moment. So definitely pretty reasonably priced. But what I've picked up today and what I'm going to have a chat about and hoping that I like, it's going to end up on the list regardless of if I like it or not. But if I don't like it, I'll definitely let you know. It is the Deanston Virgin Oak. Now, I picked this bottle up today for $83. It is a 46%er. I read a lot of interesting things about this online, about it being very full of flavor and kind of people getting honey, lemon, apple, vanilla, and also there's people who say that this is one that bourbon drinkers would like. Now, I'm definitely more into my single malt whiskies than my bourbon. However, yeah, I read a few reviews of this one. It sounded pretty interesting. It was good value. You know, it hits that kind of criteria I was talking to before of 46% whiskies in that $80 or $90 range. If you get that in Oz, you're doing pretty good. Seemed like a no-brainer to add it to the shelf after I'd already tried and enjoyed the Deanston 12. Now, look, I'm not going to be unfair on this in comparing it to that. It doesn't necessarily have to be the same or better or anything than that. The reason I got it is because it had a lot of reviews that sound quite interesting. The initial smell does definitely scream bourbon. Really, really pleasant. It really does smell like you're sniffing a bourbon whiskey kind of crossover. Yeah, a lot of sweet notes in there. Apple, lemon, vanilla, kind of like some spices up the back, like cinnamon and ginger. Nice, light and sweet. But look, it's 46%. Deanston is a pretty respected company. Yeah, that's nice. I would say it's nice and sweet and light. I think my partner, who is a bit more into bourbon, is really going to like this one. Of the whiskies that I've tried and talked about today, this one is probably the sweetest, and yeah, it's definitely going to have its place in my lineup. So luckily, this brand new bottle that I've opened specifically for this review has not been a flop. It's really tasty, and yeah, I definitely recommend giving it a try. Whether it's better or worse than the Deanston 12, that's for you to decide, but they're pretty different. I don't think they need to be directly compared necessarily. Anyway, cheers for watching video number 2 for me. Yeah, really appreciate the support so far and excited to keep going along and sharing my whiskey journey with you all. Cheers guys, see you on the next one.